Hello, I'm Adinser and welcome to 5 Minutes Till Reset. I made a promise to myself that I would do one of these videos every Tuesday for every week, and I didn't keep that promise while I was away from home. I really hope though that it was a one-time thing. As for the topic, I chose the recent leaks of what the new expansion would be, since it is relevant with the reveal being just 2 days away, on August the 6th. So there have been a few leaks and a lot of theories. The most prominent and popular one is the Dark Prophet. It is the same as the Dark Below was going to be, and all the names the idea for the expansion had before that. So while we were in the last patch of Mists of Pandaria, the leak of the Dark Below was a really likely future expansion, since it had a strong lineup of heroes, antagonists, races, enemies, and even the places still unexplored on Azeroth. It has to do with Queen Ashara and Zoth being the main villains, and maybe even Zergeras or his avatar, which corpse is still in his tomb on one of the islands that popped up in Warcraft 3. In fact, the whole storyline of Ashara and her Night Elf Highborn, or now Naga I should say, was left unresolved and untouched since the Frozen Throne. And before that, the trilogy of books called The War of the Ancients. By the way, those are one of the few books I actually read in the WoW universe, and I truly enjoyed them. The Night Elves and their story are my favorite of all the races and factions, and it has been that way ever since I played their campaign in Warcraft 3. So I am really excited to the prospect of visiting the ruins of their former cities and forests. Though I am trying not to get too hyped over the expansion, and I would recommend to everyone else to do the same, especially after the reveal, since we know now that not every expansion is worth the money we paid. I'm talking about Draenor, of course. Even Cataclysm was worth the 50 euros and the subscription fee. Now I pay the sub with gold, and I still think that it wasn't worth the retail price. Anyway, I don't want to bash Draenor, a lot of people have been doing that for a while now, including myself. So, as I said, if it actually turns out to be the Dark Prophet, with the Night Elves, the Zandalari Trolls, the Naga, Old Gods, the Kingdom of Kultiras, that's Human Kingdom, and maybe even Zergeras, it is a good foundation for an expansion. However, it is most important that they change their attitude for the game and its community in general. My wish is that they stop focusing and pandering to people on the forums and on YouTube as well, and make the game they want to make and play, because only then will we get a decent product, even though we will never get a Burning Crusade or vanilla experience again. That doesn't mean that we can't get something good and maybe better in a different way. And after all, lore was never a vital point to the success of the game. Just look at Vanilla and BC, even Wrath, widely recognized as the best versions of the game, and they had barely any story and lore to begin with. So again I say, even though it is stupid coming from me, but they need to start making the game to their liking, not to the liking of Activision or the minorities on forums and YouTube. Now, as for the other leaks, I doubt that any is legitimate as this one, but just to mention a few. There is one where the Titans come back to Azeroth and fight alongside us to defeat the Old Gods and Zergeras. And that's a really interesting one and could potentially happen, but I think that's an idea for a future expansion, a couple of expansions down the line. Then there are some that are similar to the Dark Prophet, but I'm guessing that those are troll posts, since very little information is given and it is really unreliable. And one that I'm not sure, I have read somewhere but I can't find the link, where they originally planned to make 2 expansions about Draenor. And the second one would be all about the ogres, their cities and their empire to the south. There was going to be a big continent and islands around it, and I guess that would be a fine way to go, but if Draenor didn't flop as it did. And Blizzard really wants to end the saga of Draenor and get to the next saga as soon as possible. And there's of course the one many people wanted for a long time, the Emerald Dream expansion. And I do think that it will eventually happen, only the most logical time to release it would be after the Dark Prophet or Dark Below expansion. Because the transition would be really well planned. Malfurion and the Night Elves will have a part to play against the Naga and the Shara, so logically they could take us to the Emerald Dream upon completing our tasks on Azeroth. So, speculation aside, there are so many problems that Warlords introduced to WoW, and it will take a really long time and it will be really hard to fix. Just to name a few, and I'll be quick, many of the classes are just not the same as they were. The skill cap is lower, a lot of the iconic and fun spells are gone, PvP is nowhere in sight, and the legendary questline has got to go. If I see it again in the future, I think I would just quit WoW just because of that. It wouldn't matter what the rest of the expansion looked like, because it has overstayed its welcome. It really has. Now the dungeons need to be relevant again, and I do have some kind of an idea for that, though that is for next time, and I'm trying to keep this short, and the leveling should be harder and lengthier, but with some of the qualities of the Draenor leveling. So, as I said, these problems and many more need fixing if they want to save WoW from a fast downward spiral. And I'm not convinced that a couple of months is enough for that, since they are revealing it in 2 days. So the beginning of August. So that would mean that one of two things. Either the expansion will come out just before the new year in the holiday season, or in early 2016. I really don't see the possibility of them releasing the game in late 2016. And that is not enough time, unless they were making the next expansion before the launch of Warlords, because remember 5.4 lasted 14 months, and in all that time they couldn't make a finished product, let alone a compelling and fleshed out world. I really don't see how they could do it in almost half that time. Again, unless they were actually planning on having a shitty expansion, aka Draenor, in order to have a great one after that. Anyway, I have a lot more to say about all of this, but as I said, I will keep this one short. So one more time, I would like to urge everyone to try not to get hyped and unnecessarily pre-order the next expansion before we see some beta footage, and even then, it won't be representative of the final product, but not in a good way, meaning it could be worse than the beta in the long run. That is all for this Tuesday. I will probably make a video on the reveal as well, but until then, have a great reset, thanks for watching and see you next time.